Stop analyzing the emotionally unavailable person. Stop wasting your energy analyzing someone who can't show up for you and can't meet your needs. For a relationship to work, the feelings have to be reciprocated. You have to be choosing each other fully. The timing has to be right, and you both have to be ready. You just can't make a relationship work with someone who doesn't have the same feelings as you, or is somehow just like not in a place in their life or psychologically where they can give the relationship their all. And if we can't accept that reality, we just give someone else so much power, enormous power over our lives. And this isn't just about walking away because they're emotionally unavailable. I want you to communicate. I want you to be brave and allow yourself to be vulnerable and to have the really uncomfortable, awkward conversation about what it is that you need, where you stand, where they stand. But ultimately, you have to step out of your head, stop thinking about their behavior, and step right back out into your life. Because I promise you that their emotional unavailability is not a puzzle that you are supposed to solve. And I know that this is incredibly difficult if you've been in a relationship with this person for a long time or you're married to them. But this is why it can be incredibly nuanced. And, sometimes it means seeking out third-party help. Sometimes it means finally having the conversation that you've been so afraid to have. Sometimes it means like trying to understand, like maybe they're pulling away because of a dynamic between the two of you. When we just stay in our heads, ruminating and trying to diagnose another person, we're trying to figure out the origin of their unavailability, where it's like we're trying to step into their minds and like we're trying to be their therapist. We're trying to understand and decode their behavior and decode their psychology. And it's a losing battle because you're never really going to figure out another person. We can barely figure out ourselves. And so especially if you like are dating this person, or it's like within the first couple of months and you're not quite sure, like you have to be brave and just open up and talk about it. But so many of us just get anxious about it. And then we talk to our friends about it and we think, what does that mean? What does it mean when they did this and when they did that? And all that's doing is taking all our focus onto someone, particularly in this circumstance, who we barely know, making them so incredibly important. And that is when we are actually abandoning ourselves. We're abandoning our lives. We're abandoning our purpose. We're abandoning our own needs. Everything becomes about this other person. And you know what? More than anything else, it's just a habit. It's a really bad habit. It's rooted in a little anxiety. It's rooted in not really believing your worth. It's rooted in a fear of not being enough for someone. It's rooted in self-doubt, believing that, you can't really trust your intuition about something. You can't really trust your feelings. It's rooted in this fear of saying what it is that you need or you want because you think if you say that you're going to push the person even further away. Look, maybe this person is just not available to you because they have some sort of inner conflict. Maybe they are not actually, they don't feel that connected to you as you feel connected to them. But here's something that I want to say about that. I promise you, I really promise you, anyone who's not into you for whatever reason is not for you. And so I really want to challenge you, to challenge yourself and ask yourself, why this person? Especially, and I'm speaking very specifically about someone who you don't know that well. I'm not talking someone you've been in a relationship with. We tend to focus so much on being chosen and being wanted. And then we'd never stop to think like, do I even really like this person? Right? It becomes an obsession. It becomes a fixation. And we do this because a lot of us are conditioned to do this. We're conditioned to want to be chosen no matter what. And we do this because We might be super attracted to someone, even though maybe we haven't really taken the time to discover their character, to discover their values, to discover how we actually feel when we're with them. We're attracted to them. So the obsession becomes, the pursuit becomes, I want this person to want me back. Or I feel a connection. I felt such a strong connection with them. And now that we're kind of exiting the very beginning lust phase of a relationship, now it's like we either transition to a more committed stage or not. And I'm finding that once it's getting time to, really talk about the future and talk about real things other than just, the lusty part, this person is sort of pulling away, or I notice that they're not opening up. I'm starting to notice their limitations, their emotional and psychological capacity when it comes to holding a relationship. Trying to decode another person's behavior is how we really get trapped. It's how we trap ourselves into so much suffering. You have to, like I said, be brave and just have the conversation. If you're noticing that someone is pulling away, or you're noticing that maybe someone doesn't have the capacity, your job is to be emotionally available yourself. And that doesn't mean no boundaries. It means really strong boundaries. And what I mean by that is just saying, here, listen, I really like you. I would like to see where this goes, but I'm getting this sense that either you're not really sure or what. I don't know what it is, but would love to know your thoughts about this, or, what's happening. And the more direct you can be, the better. Even if you are sweating and your heart rate is elevated because you're really anxious while you're saying this, it's so incredibly important. We talk a lot about breaking patterns and overcoming attachment wounds, but so much of it is learning how to be just an advocate for yourself in life. And it's not about being rude. It's just about stating what you see and having a conversation about it. And I wouldn't position it as something that you need reassurance on. It's not about reassurance. And sometimes it's not about anxious attachment. Sometimes it's just about you learning to trust your body, to trust the feelings that you're having, to trust sort of the signals or cues that you're getting from another person. And if your intention, if your desire, if your dream, if your goal is to have a loving relationship with someone, then you have to be brave and tell the truth and be vulnerable. There is no other way. And maybe by having the conversation, things can actually progress with this person. But either way, it's a win-win. And you have to trust that if someone just doesn't have it in them, for whatever reason, to be with you, to commit to you, you have to really, really, really remember this. It's not personal. Because even if they weren't that into you and you're really into them, are you really into them? That's just how it goes. And I know that it doesn't feel good. But again, I will keep reiterating, anyone who's not for you or anyone who doesn't want you isn't for you. And you have to trust that it's just, if it doesn't work out, that it's just going to make room for something and for someone who is all in. And it does take a lot of courage, but you have to be, a warrior of your heart. And that means that you are going to open it to people who are all in, and you are going to protect it from people who are just not all in. So if you're watching this and you're in this position, or your friend is in this position, or your sibling is in this position, encourage yourself and encourage them to put the focus back on you and to stop giving your power away and your precious, precious energy to someone who you're never going to figure out anyway.